Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Covenant Creation on YouTube. My name is Tim Martin, and I have a special guest today. I have Zach Davis
Hey,
joining me. How are you, Zach?
I'm good, Tim. If you hear kids going nuts in the background, I'm sorry.
Uh, I know what that's like. We're getting toward the end of that part, but awesome to have you on. I wanted to invite you on and talk about the Montana Wild Conference preparations and planning, and maybe get the word out some more about what we've got in mind for next month. About a month from now, we'll be in the middle of our conference. So our countdown has started. So why don't you tell everybody what the plan is, and kind of where you're coming in, and maybe what you're going to be talking about, and I'll talk a bit about the conference as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to come out. Me and my dad's going to come with me. We're going to drive up. So I'm excited to see Mount Rushmore, to be honest, on the way. That'll be like a bucket list thing for us, and Yellowstone on the way back through. But
Right.
excited to go through it. My dad has never been west of Dallas, so he will not fly. He will not get on a plane. So I'm bringing him out to the great state. I'm excited about that. This is kind of a multifaceted trip for me to get to come see everybody, to get to come speak, and just for me and him to come hang out too. So
Right.
it'll be a good time.
Well,
I've got a
we planned this as a destination conference, sort of like a vacation type thing, family event. So we're going to have the everybody's going to be free to go explore Montana, Southwest Montana, all the stuff that's available here. The rivers, the outdoors, the mountains, and everything. And then we'll have the conference presentations after dinner at the Copper Cave Barn. So it'll be kind of a days free and then evening sessions, and that'll give a good freedom for everybody to kind of explore.
yeah. I think the hardest thing will be being away from the wife and kids for a week, but I don't have 23 and a half hours of listening to three of them. I don't have it in me for the nervous system. So I don't know if I could speak after that.
My oldest got married in Mississippi, Olive Branch, Mississippi, and we took a caravan of all of us driving, and I ended up driving it straight through because of that issue. We drove
Yeah.
overnight, they slept, but yeah, we'll never forget that trip.
Olive Branch is about 45 minutes from me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, my oldest son married a Mississippi girl, and I thought that was kind of funny because I grew up in South Carolina, Florida, and various places in the South, and I went to Montana, married a Montana girl, or
yeah.
actually a Colorado girl. They ended up being a Montana girl when I first met her. So I feel like we've come full circle now.
How do you meet her?
She had friends here in the area, and she would come out for the summers because Montana is so fun and then they were in homeschool groups together, and one thing led to another. So
yeah, that's cool.
yeah. So, but anyway, I want to let everybody know that we do have some planning still going on for the conference. And what I did was, well, first of all, let me say beyondcreationscience.com, we have all the information about the conference planning and details. And I also made some reservations for some hotel rooms in the area in case anybody wanted to do a last minute type of thing back in February when we were setting up all the accommodations and stuff. So it's a very touristy, busy place. This is our peak season. It's kind of hard to find hotel rooms. There are Airbnbs in the area, but it's pretty occupied with fishing season. But I do have, if anybody wants to pull the trigger on this in the next week or two, I do have reservations for some more hotel rooms, for some other Airbnbs in the area that I have access to if somebody wanted to do that. But that put the word out. And really, I should also say, I really appreciate Steve Magua because we're partners on this. This is Ask the Pastor and beyondcreationscience.com promoted. So it's a teamwork, and I've really appreciated Steve Magua's efforts over the years. We've done really well together over the last few years in St. Louis, and now we're bringing that conference here for this year. So, but the title of it is The Eschatology of Genesis, and that's what we'll be discussing. What do you think about that title, Zach? What does it set off in your mind?
It's fitting in a lot of ways. I think some people read the Bible and maybe don't connect everything all the way through, but there's so many Genesis themes that I see played out in the prophets and the New Testament, and really culminating and climax in so many things, especially for preterists who see that. I like it. I'm excited about it.
Okay.
I'm going with, what are my talks again? I'm doing the Sabbath. I'm seeing the Sabbath in the story.
Right.
And the Sabbath in Hebrews is really one of the things that set some things in motion for me, and kind of seeing some different things in the Sabbath from what I grew up with. And then the other one that I'm going to do is the eschatology of Satan, and kind of give my take on it. And uh, the title's not misleading because I want to talk about Satan a lot, but also
Right.
get into the bride, because I think the bride and deception and Satan go together well, to see some things come to fruition in the New Testament.
Well, we have done covenant creation conferences in the past, actually associated with, preterist conferences. Back in 2009, our very first covenant creation conference was held in Dayton, Ohio, with the Truth Voice group, and they had a preterist conference Friday, Saturday. So I talked to the lead planner, and I asked if he could extend the reservation for the venue for Thursday before the conference, and we would have at the preterist conference on the day before, so everybody could just go on Thursday and then stay for the preterist conference as well.
Yeah.
And that was really good because we had people that weren't preterists involved in that. I think there were 6 speakers. And so it was more of a Genesis studies type thing because we invited.
Yeah.
And this is not a covenant creation conference, though. This is really a preterist conference devoted to the issue of Genesis eschatology. And so we have 7 speakers, 6 that are announced. One's a bonus speaker. We haven't announced him yet. We'll announce him at the conference, but not everyone is an advocate of covenant creation who's coming. So my thought behind it was, and I talked with Steve about the planning and stuff, is to bring people in from different perspectives within the preterist movement, within the authors, pastors, people, content creators like yourself, like Rick Welch from Burroughs of Berea, and of course everybody else. So we can just present material on various perspectives and have kind of a roundtable discussion, and ask each other questions. I have a lot of questions I want to hear from other people that have been stuck in the back of my mind for years. So I'm hoping to learn a lot from various perspectives. Even being an advocate of covenant creation, a full covenant creation view, like full covenant eschatology view.
I'll teach you everything you need to know when I get out there. So you just what Arkansas goes north.
Well, here's the question that I was kind of bouncing around with some other people, is that, does Genesis have an eschatology?
I mean, here's where I'm at. I was thinking through, so when I'm thinking about conference talks, there are things in Genesis to me that are motifs that go all the way through. So
Right.
I'm still working through, if you asked me to walk you through Genesis 1, 2, 3, I couldn't show you all the symbolism. Either
Right.
it's not covenantal or I'm not good enough yet to do it. That's where I'm at. But there are things in there like thorns and thistles. I'm convinced there's covenantal to that. That has an eschatology to me.
Right.
Things like Satan, I see that 80, 70. Things like the Sabbath, I see that 80, 70. So I chose those 2 things because I can see those things in Genesis with an eschatology. So I'm 100% convinced
if you think about what futurism is, what is futurism? Isn't futurism the idea that the Genesis creation has an eschatology in our future at the end of the world? Right. I mean, that's what we always used to believe. That's the big hang up when it comes to preterism, right? Well, this can't be fulfilled. The sun, moon, and stars are there or whatever, right?
Yeah. Your thing is a nonconformist view the right way, the right approach to Scripture. Is that a fair statement?
I think that is a fair understanding, but think about it for a second as a full preterist. If you're a full preterist, you believe that material creation is the subject and meaning of Genesis 1 through 3.
Right.
And you believe that all prophecy has been fulfilled, then you actually don't believe there's any eschatology of Genesis creation.
Well, I mean, I think people would take, I've heard things like, what about the thorns and thistle curse being fulfilled in Genesis 9 or something like that? I mean,
Genesis 5:29, sure.
Right. So, so if I take something like, let me lay it out for people. If I take something like the thorns and thistles and take that as physical, then I never have a reversal of thorns and thistles. Essentially, because thorns and thistles are still here post 80/70 for someone that has everything fulfilled. There's never, if thorns and thistles are physical, literal thorns
Right.
that were produced because of Adam, then you don't have an eschatology for that because you never get that reversed.
So the crazy thing about, I was thinking about this question: does Genesis creation 1 through 3 have an eschatology? And I realized that, a lot of preterists hold on to that material creation view that they had before they became a preterist, but then they accept fulfillment of all prophecy, the passing away of heaven and earth. 2 Peter 3, Book of Revelation, Matthew 24.
Yeah.
And what they're really saying is they keep the material creation view and then switch on the idea that there is now no eschatology to Genesis creation. It's a non-eschatology view, which is, it's fascinating because, from a covenant creation perspective, we're actually agreeing with a futurist structure of theology. We just
Right.
say that the definitions of heaven and earth or fulfillment, the material universe at the end of the world, is mistaken. So,
One of the hardest conversations I ever had, and it was just mind blowing to me, and I couldn't wrap my mind around it, and I didn't know what questions to ask him, was when I interviewed John Walton, and he takes a nonconformist view the other way, that it's some, and I don't know that he would say covenantal, but it's some kind of orderly view at the beginning, that it's not physical, but then has a physical ending at the end of
right.
the Bible. And
It's
that's
generally understood as cosmic temple view, the idea that the physical universe is the
right.
cosmic temple, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, temple, the church and the temple's mission,
Yeah.
that book,
G.K. Bill.
G.K. Beale, yeah, he has the same idea pretty much. I mean, Walton goes into the ancient Near East stuff more, but they have this idea that's a material creation. But it's interesting if you read that book and you watch his handling of Revelation 21:1, where there's no more sea.
Right.
He doesn't deal with what that means in any kind of physical way.
Yeah.
It's like it's like the no more sea part just doesn't exist because it doesn't fit with the end of a material creation,
Right.
So
Yeah.
fascinating stuff, but there's going to be a lot of topics and a lot of things discussed. And one of the questions that I would have for some people is let's go to that unified story, the idea of that there's this beginning of a story that develops through the rest of the Bible. It's all connected and comes to fulfillment in Christ. I mean, the covenant creation view is really saying that the eschatology of Genesis is Jesus Christ alone, and the new covenant that he brings into the world in the
He's
incarnation.
the telos.
He is a telos. And traditional futurist views say that the eschatology of Genesis covenantally is Jesus, but it's materially the end of the physical world. And then you have some preterists who say the eschatology, there is no eschatology of Genesis creation because we're living in the same creation, right?
Right.
And all prophecy is fulfilled. So there's no eschatology.
Yeah, but you got what you got to have it goes physical to spiritual, Tim.
Right.
Physical to it is. Do you not hear that all the time?
I do hear that a lot. They switch the word natural to physical, which are two different Greek words. And they don't really look at the way Paul in the New Testament uses natural in a covenant context. I'm convinced that that's a real big issue. So
You think natural fleshly refers to the old covenant?
yes.
Yeah, I've done a lot of fleshly stuff, and the more I study it, the more I keep connecting it back to the old covenant.
And I think it's a mortal covenant. It's a temporary covenant.
Same
Right?
thing before. Yeah.
Right. But I believe that the whole thing, and this is going to be my intro presentation, the biblical theology of the first and the second. With the old covenant being the betrothal covenant, betrothals are temporary.
Yeah.
Right? Betrothals are establishing a marriage with a consummation to come. So I think the new covenant is the full marriage, and the old covenant matches, the marriage ceremony of the ancient Near East as a temporary, intended to be limited covenant. So that's kind of how I see it. I think the first and the second as old covenant, new covenant makes a lot of sense out of a lot of the scriptures. And where I get interesting with part 2 of my presentation will be the eschatology of the firmament, right? Because there's a big debate about firmament stuff, even in other materialistic views of creation. But I think the firmament, the eschatology of the firmament, brings that face-to-face covenant union.
I think even some people hearing that, what do you mean there's an eschatology to the firmament? Like that doesn't even register as a thought.
I'm going to cite scholars that say in the book of Revelation, commentators on the book of Revelation, where the actual firmament of Genesis 1 is being destroyed progressively through the book of Revelation for the bride and the holy city coming down out of heaven.
Yeah.
For heaven and earth to meet. That firmament has to go.
Well, if you got the sun, moon, and stars being destroyed, you might have a pathway somewhere. But I'm interested in listening to it too. And I've heard you do some stuff on the firmament before, but I'm interested in that study.
Well, let me tell everybody who's planning on coming. We've got Don Preston from Ardmore, Oklahoma. We've got Jeff Vaughn, who's my co-author with Beyond Creation Science. You're coming from Arkansas. We have let's see, Rick Welch is coming from North Carolina. And let's see, we have a bonus speaker. I'm not going to mention who that is as well.
I don't even know who it is.
Yeah, it'll be good. And of course, Steve Magua will be speaking as well. So there's 6 plus 1, which 7 speakers. I think that's kind of fitting. But if anybody wants to have any questions, contact me, comment on this video. We'll, answer questions. And the preparation is 100% full on right now as far as getting ready for, meal schedules, and equipment is coming and arriving that we're going to need for recording the sessions. So we'll have all of the sessions available to put up on YouTube after we're all done. So,
well, I'm pumped about coming. I've got Vacation Bible School this next week, so that's on my mind. But I've been in I'm pretty much done with my Satan when I got to touch some stuff up on the Sabbath one.
Sure.
And I'll be ready to roll. So my mind will be fully there after next week.
Well, I appreciate your work, Zach, on YouTube. I can't hardly keep up with what you're putting out, and I have a lot of time to listen to videos and stuff at work. So,
well, my church family is good to me. The Lord's blessed me and given me the ability to have some time to study and do things. So I'm grateful for that.
Oh, awesome. Well, I sure have benefited from your work, and I've been passing it around as well. And I see your channel's growing. You're getting more and more subscribers and more views on your stuff. So just keep it up. I like that.
I appreciate it, brother.
But anyway, well, that's the Eschatology of Genesis conference, Montana Wild Conference, July 22nd through 25th in Whitehall, Montana. Go to beyondcreationscience.com if you want to see more details about planning and what we've got in mind. And come out and join us.